Well, I think I might get started. I think everyone who said that they were coming along are here. So, welcome to our online chat for tonight. My name is Jenny from Reef Check Australia. We are Australia wide, but we're currently based in Townsville, but we also have a group based in southeast Queensland. So I think we've got a few people along the coast who know us or know what we do. And for those who don't, we are a non-profit citizen science organisation that trains up regular people, so not necessarily marine biologists, to go out and monitor reef health to assess the health of the reef and spread the word about what people can do in their communities to help the reef and oceans and the environment in general. So we've got a community education side of Reef Check. So tonight we've got for you a talk about the trials and tribulations about the plastic free movement in celebration of Plastic Free July. So we have moved these Coast to Coral talks online during these times, and tonight is a smaller one, so we call them a bonus bite, and it's just a quick chat about a certain topic. And obviously tonight is about plastic and some of the sort of challenges with the plastic free movement, just some tips and suggestions for reducing your single-use plastic consumption. And also big thank you to all of our supporters for helping us get these events online. Obviously without you guys we wouldn't be able to run these events in person or online, and it's really great that we still have the support during these times. And a really massive thank you to Diana from Plastic Free Townsville from the Boomerang Alliance for messaging me back on social media all that time ago and having a chat to me, and then coming out to our Magnetic Island reef cleanup event, and then just agreeing to come and have a chat online about plastic free movement and plastic free July in general. And yeah, just being so willing to share your huge wealth of knowledge about all of this stuff.
All right, so I'm going to hand over to Diana from Plastic Free Places and Plastic Free Townsville to talk a little bit about Plastic Free July and kickstart the chat. Over to you, Diana.
Thanks, Jenny. Hello, everybody. So Plastic Free July started in Western Australia in 2003, and it's become a global movement to help millions of individuals become part of the solution to plastic pollution. We do hear the catch cry that it's the big polluters that should be making that difference, and that is true as well, but that's no reason for us to individually vote with our feet by making those choices away from plastic. 8 million tonnes of waste enters our oceans every year. 130,000 tonnes of that is actually from Australia. So it is small compared to 8 million tonnes, but it's not insignificant. So any efforts to reduce that amount are worth it. And look, you can make it plastic free any month, really. So if you've decided that you haven't quite got there, you can do it next month. It's completely fine. And it can be, the tiniest step is still in the right direction. So I'm sure a lot of you that have been interested enough in coming to attending this webinar are probably already taking steps. And at the end of this, I'd love for you to contribute your own tips, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. Plastic Free Townsville is an organisation, as I said, that's run by the Boomerang Alliance. Plastic Free July is also under the Boomerang Alliance, and there'll be a few other familiar organisations, like you've probably heard of Tangaroa Blue or Take 3 for the Sea. There are 51 of them, so I won't name them all. But the Plastic Free Places program was launched in Noosa about 4 years ago and was so successful that the Noosa Council has now taken it over. And what we do is we work with communities with food and retail businesses to help reduce that single-use plastic packaging and take steps to create a circular economy where there is really no waste at the end of it. And that's a big goal, but we're already seeing such inroads into that that we can see that it's not just a dream, it's actually coming true. And so now we've got Byron, Perth, Adelaide and Cairns. Cairns and Townsville both started in February this year, just before COVID hit. So we haven't, our data isn't collected yet because we're still so new. So if you're in Townsville, please speak to your local cafes and ask them if they've become a member yet. If you're in any of the other areas, please do the same thing because we want to encourage that and make that the norm for businesses to switch over. So what do? We engage directly with cafes and food retailers. We ask them what they need, what they're using, and identify better products for them to use or better solutions. Sometimes it doesn't involve a product. Sometimes it's literally to say, don't give a straw out with every drink or wait for somebody to ask for it. Same with cutlery or packaging even. Sometimes people have their own solutions there or don't need them at all. We provide guidance and support because we know packaging, we know greenwashing, and we can take that element of work out for a business that is already overwhelmed with other business concerns. And we've already had that feedback from businesses saying it's really good that you can just send us an email with what you recommend and we don't have to try and read through all the descriptions and try and work out what the right product is. We work with their local suppliers as well. And this happens in every plastic-free place. We're always conscious of cost and waste. So we do take into account what they need and the situation they're in and just tailor solutions to them. These are the 6 key plastics that we work on eliminating. If a business eliminates all 6 of these, we give them a Plastic Free Champion Award and we promote them, we list them on our website, and we really try to get, community support for that to create that social norm that it's fine to not have those products. And it's not that hard these days. Lots of cafes and restaurants and takeaways and food trucks have already taken a lot of these steps, but sometimes they're bamboozled by some of the greenwashing, as I'll describe soon. Things like water bottles are one of the hardest ones for cafes to get their heads around because people demand them. But we've got a movement towards people having refill stations or where they will refill a bottle for free, or having glass bottles or aluminium canned water is a new movement because aluminium's actually, well, as we know, it's very recyclable and it's infinitely recyclable, but it is commonly, it's I guess, recognized as recyclable by more people for some reason, and so it's more likely to be recycled, even though the PET bottles that water comes in are recyclable as well. There's just a much lower recycling rate and a much higher litter rate for them for some reason. So only about 7% of all recyclables are ever actually recycled. So that's quite disappointing. And this is why we try to avoid recyclables in general and just try to eliminate that and find a solution that doesn't involve that at all. Coffee cups and lids are another one. Most businesses are moving towards compostable coffee cups, which have a plant plastic lining, a PLA lining, but coffee cup lids catch a lot of people out. Even the very conscious companies provide plastic lids as well as compostable lids, and cafes often get confused and order the plastic ones, thinking that they're ordering something that's a commercially compostable product. And we've had a couple of them almost in tears saying, I didn't realize, we were so conscious and we didn't realize these were plastic. So we try to educate around that as well. So the impact we've had so far in the Plastic Free Places program, and keep in mind that Townsville and Cairns figures are not included here because they had only just launched when they released these. We've got 369 businesses as members, 28 market and event members, which we will move into next year with Townsville. We've got 116 of those as Plastic Free champions who've eliminated every single one of those products. And I can almost guarantee the only thing holding a lot of others back is is the plastic water bottles. And, you know, you can see that almost over 5 million pieces of plastic eliminated, never ever entering circulation whatsoever, because those businesses have switched away from plastics towards a compostable alternative. Now, this is from March. Unfortunately, because COVID came along, we haven't been collecting any more data. So once those closures change, we will reassess those figures and find out how many more pieces of plastic have been eliminated. So that comes to the Queensland single-use plastic ban, which was just introduced. The bill was introduced to Parliament last Wednesday. Other places around Australia have also started to introduce plastic bans, and a little bit after I'd created these slides, we also found out that on a scorecard, Queensland's actually #1 in their actions against single-use plastics, which is something to be really, really proud of. So they had a community consultation. You may have seen lots of call outs for feedback leading up to this, and they had over 19,000 submissions, and over 94% of those were in favour of a ban on single-use plastics. So this phase of the plastics ban will include plates, cutlery, straws and stirrers, and businesses will have 1 year to comply. The legislation should go through in the next couple of months. So when it does, they're expecting July 2021 you need to comply, otherwise you'll face fines. It's something that is necessary. We have found that bans are really the only way to prompt some businesses to take action. And you know, we'd love to be able to leave it up to individuals, but we've seen that that's not been working so far. So these days there are so many alternatives and solutions that we're really happy that this has happened. Queensland government has a plastic pollution reduction plan that works with the Australian Packaging Covenant Association organisation, and this is about labelling things correctly, making recycling clearer, finding better alternatives to packaging. So even the manufacturers and suppliers are having to switch over, and I can say that on the ground I'm seeing this already. Some companies that supply takeaway items that were classically very plastic based are now working on and trialing compostable items, things that we never thought we'd see from these companies. So they really are coming to the party, and that's something to be really, really proud of and grateful for. This picture was taken from Instagram from the account Townsville Trash. She's a beach walker who just likes to collect rubbish on her walks and then post. Usually she makes an artistic arrangement of them, but it really highlights these tiny things that you could, you know, just walk by, but you really see how much they contribute. So out of the top 10 items found in cleanups, 6 of them often come from the food and beverage retail sector, which is why our program focuses on those. And people do say, why don't you work on, you know, big companies? Well, there are other organizations and other branches working with that. So there are lots of approaches coming from all different directions in order to shift all this. Hang on, have I just moved away? I have no idea how I managed to jump to the end of I managed to jump to the very end of my slides, and sorry, let me oh, I see what I've done here. Let me see. Sorry guys, my fingers got a bit got carried away. Here we go. So greenwashing. Greenwashing is a term you've possibly heard of, you may not understand, or you're very well aware of. Greenwashing is when a company generally misleads customers and potential customers into believing a product is environmentally friendly. There is a lot of greenwashing. Some of it is very obvious, some of it is not at all and looks very legitimate, which is partly why we've been trained to do what we do to help these businesses make better choices. Classic example here are the eco straws. They're called OxoBio, that type of plastic, and they've been touted as having an additive that helps them break down to their molecular elements, that's non-toxic, that just blends seamlessly with the environment. But that's never been proven. They're actually banned in Europe, and they're now coming in under this plastics ban. And you can see, you look at this packaging, and you wouldn't question it really. They absolutely describe them as if they do what they say they do, but they don't. If you go on the websites, they look very scientifically backed. But again, if you look deeper, you find out that they've just taken the info that they want, and they don't do what they say they do. They're just essentially a plastic straw with an additive that makes it break up into microplastics and nanoplastics more quickly. Okay. Now we've got things like wooden cutlery and other cutlery. These are things that I show my businesses, so they're not necessarily applicable to you on a individual basis, but it's good to look for them and know them if they're ever offered to you. Wooden cutlery is great. We recommend FSC certified wooden cutlery, which means that it's come from a managed forest, not old growth, not clearing any land. It's already established, and it's specifically for that purpose. It'll be compostable. You can get waxed and unwaxed. The wax is just a food grade wax. It's a food product, so it is fine. But this packaging is actually plastic lined. So if you get those packs of cutlery, it's just undone any good intentions you had, because that is plastic and it won't break down. They will say, as you can see, compostable and biodegradable, but they don't explain that the packaging is actually not. The other one is PSM. It looks like plastic, and it sort of, when you read the packets, they really make it look like they're the green option, but it's actually 70% PLA or CPLA, which is bioplastic, but then it's got 30% plastic, polystyrene, polypropylene, which means it has to go to landfill. It can't be recycled because the PLA will contaminate the recycling, and it can't be composted. So that's another one. They often come in packs, and you'll see PSM. It says plant starch material, so it sounds exactly like it's a plant product, but it's plastic. Now, coffee cup lids. I've mentioned before that coffee cup lids are a big obstacle for cafes. And sometimes, so you see Biopack here, they're well known for their compostable products. They're a great company. We are not affiliated with or receive anything from any company. We rate companies on the products we recommend on merits alone. Biopack is one that we definitely do recommend in general. And this is their compostable CPLA product. Number 7 means other. So nobody can recycle a number 7. Well, anything is technically recyclable, but you won't find any municipal recycling that'll recycle number 7, because it could be anything. In this case, it means that it's PLA, polylactic acid, which is a plastic made from the juice of sugarcane and corn. And you know, that's a better option than a polystyrene lid, which is this number 6 over here. Biopack does both, and sometimes companies will buy the plastic version thinking that Biopack just sells all compostable. So that's another thing we do. You can't, most places, well in Townsville especially, will not recycle polystyrene, will not process number 6. And the thing with coffee cup lids is that they're so light and small that they generally fall through the cracks and actually clog up recycling equipment. So they can't really be recycled anyway. They actually cause more problems. The black lids that are so popular, unfortunately, cause even more of a problem, because the scanners that scan things for shape and size miss them because they're black. And so, yeah, they do cause trouble in recycling. So these black coffee cup lids are a really bad idea. So if you must have a single-use coffee, refuse a lid. And you've probably seen a bit about those campaigns, because lids are a real problem. Polystyrene is one of the worst plastics, and it breaks down into styrene molecules, which can cause, apart from the physical damage from eating a plastic, it can cause hormonal and other metabolic damage over time in creatures, sea creatures, humans too, if we were to. This is a gelato cup, I think. Coffee cups are the same. They have this polyethylene lining. If you do a little separation with your fingers on any product that looks lined, and if it does this stretch, you know that it's a polyethylene lined product. And this is why we don't like them. A question that comes up a lot is, well, we don't have a commercial composting facility near us, and so what's the point anyway? And I completely understand the frustration and concern there. But what it is polylactic acid, the PLA, doesn't require fossil fuels. It doesn't involve fossil fuels. A company like Biopack is a carbon neutral company, so at least you know they're making an effort anyway. If it does end up littered in nature, it won't break down to anything toxic. However, it's exactly right that PLA will not break down in landfill because basically nothing does. It can occasionally cause physical damage to a creature if they eat it because it takes a long time for it to break down. So ideally, we wouldn't be using any single-use items, but we also recognize that to go to a business and say, no, you've got to stop all of that right now, will turn people off. So it's a step-by-step approach, and as solutions come forward, we will update our recommendations. So this explains why we do recommend that. And also it creates demand. If businesses say to their council, well, this is what we're selling, we need a capture and processing facility for these, eventually they will. And I know that Townsville City Council does recognise this and has heard this. So we're just waiting for updates. Now, here are some more general plastic-free tips. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. There's Plastic Free Townsville, Plastic Free Noosa, Plastic Free Byron, Plastic Free Cairns, WA Plastic Free if you happen to be from Perth. Good on you for joining in if you are. And Plastic Free SA if you're in South Australia. And we all do share, we share a lot of stuff about our businesses that have joined, but also we will share tips here and there and in our stories as well. Join the Plastic Free July Challenge. You've still got a few days if you haven't yet. Bringing your own is the most basic solution if you are going out. Being self-reliant is really, the number one tip, or don't eat out at all. Shop at cafes and grocers that accept reusables or that they sell in bulk, and encourage others to do the same. Ask your local cafe about their takeaway packaging. Sometimes that's all it takes. If they have enough people asking them, they start to think about it and think that they need to start doing that. And also ask them if they're a member of Plastic Free Townsville or any other local plastic free place. We don't cost any money. We're funded by the Queensland government, and we won't push. We're simply there to help them navigate that. Another big one is pay attention to your rubbish. What's making up the bulk of your rubbish? Can some of that be eliminated? It's good to sometimes sit down and have a rubbish audit. Is it buying in bulk, making your own, using a reusable version of whatever you're finding in there, or a compostable version? For example, buying coffee beans from your local roaster, so you're still supporting local, and make your coffee at home. Or buy your fruit and vegetables from a local market and use a box or a basket or a cloth bag instead of plastic. Buy bulk laundry detergent or ingredients, and either make your own cleaning products and laundry detergents, or make your own breads, biscuits, dips, things that you buy in packaging that seem to add up to lots of little plastics. If you've got a young family, using reusable nappies, feminine hygiene products can make a massive difference. And there's quite a movement about women's feminine hygiene products and single use and the pollution and toxicity they cause to the environment. Reusable or compostable house cleaning cloths. You don't need to have a specific special cloth. You can cut up an old towel or an old t-shirt, and that really will do just as good a job a lot of the time. There are some companies that sell cleaning cloths that are reusable and washable and are more specific for certain surfaces if you want to go that way. But if we're trying to keep costs down, there's nothing wrong with reusing a towel. And toothbrushes are a big one. Try the bamboo ones. They're getting better and better. And FSC is the Forestry Stewardship Council certification, again, coming from a plantation that's been audited and checked so that it's not dodgy, basically, and not affecting our natural forests. Repurposing items rather than buying new. Now, most of you would have heard of Costa Georgiadis. I remember once he did a post saying he's been using a fruit box as a laundry basket for years, and because his laundry basket broke. And I thought, you know, that's such a clever idea, really. I mean, depends on the size of your household, but, you know, why do we have to buy a new thing? Use old toothbrushes to scrub around taps or tight spots. Saving vegetable scraps and freezing them to make stock rather than buying it in a carton or soft plastic pack. If you like to cook and like to use stock, this is a really easy option. On a weekend, chuck everything in a big pot and let it just simmer for hours, and then you can freeze it in portions, and you've made the absolute most out of your vegetable peelings and scraps. Eat less junk food, because as we know, when you buy from a takeaway or a chain store, you've got a lot of packaging. Guzman y Gomez has made great inroads into using compostable bagasse packaging, so I do commend them on that. See if things can be repaired before replacing them, and reconsider whether you need that item at all. Straws or coffee cup lids, for example. And recycle anything that can be. So check out what your council recycles. Everyone's municipality is different. Look for that number. The recycling symbol alone does not mean it will be recycled. If the facilities don't exist, it really won't. It'll just end up in landfill. Red Cycle takes your soft plastic, like your bread bags or your biscuit packets or your pasta bags, and on their site they very clearly outline what they'll take, and there's quite a lot. And TerraCycle is another one, and you'll find that there are some collection points, and they will take things like cosmetic packaging and shampoo and conditioner packaging and oral hygiene packaging. So see if there's a collection point near you as well. I think Lush or the Body Shop had some. I'm not sure of all the other places, but if you Google or look it up on their page, TerraCycle Australia, you should find out what's near you. And finally, this little graphic I just found really useful. It, you know, it's not just plastic, but in general, if you rethink the way we consume things, you can make those choices a little more easily, I suppose. It helps you a bit more aware of what you're using. If you have any questions, I haven't been able to see anything in the chat, so you can let me know. Or I can, Jenny might let me know now if anything has come up that we can ask, or we can get your mics on and you can contribute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Karen had a couple of questions.
Yes.
She asked, or she said, we have a few of the cup rescue deposits here on the Sunshine Coast. Are they reliable? She doesn't use them herself, but some of her workmates still do. So I had a quick Google. Karen, maybe you can give us a little bit more information about the recycling deposit that you're talking about. I did a quick Google and I found simplycups.com.au. So that organisation seems like they actually take the actual cups themselves, and I don't know much more information about that. But have you heard of anything like that in Townsville or in other places, Diana?
I haven't seen any set up here yet. Unfortunately, because we're so regional, we don't have a lot of that. I have seen one business that has a bio cup collection bin. I'm still trying to get a response from them because with BioPack, they will collect within the Brisbane metro area. I think all around Australia, but in the more metro areas, and they will take those cups and they will compost them in a facility near them. But as we don't have one, I can't see that they would send a truck up to pick up a single box of the only company that collects them and truck it all back down to Brisbane. So I suspect that's a case of greenwashing, but no one has enlightened me. Now, the other recyclable cup pods that they have around the place, look, it relies on the cups being rinsed and clean before they can recycle them. And it also relies on a cup recycling facility to exist, because there really are not many, and it's not a very profitable system, so I have been told, in the same way as recycling Tetra Packs is not very profitable. So a lot of recyclers are starting to rejecting them. I've been told that those things will not be recycled in future. So if it is a company that is going to take them dirty and clean them themselves and then recycle them, that would be great. But it's one of those things where you probably have to call the company and just check the actual company, not the cafe necessarily, and ask them if they are. It kind of keeps them honest because they know people are checking up on them. But from what we know, it's not a very high uptake. It just looks like you're doing the right thing. Have you got any other questions or a response to that?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick Google now. So they actually have these, it's a looks like it's a pay-per service. So they have these tubes that you put the used cups in. I don't know too much more information about whether they have to, how clean they have to be and whatnot. And then it looks like they upcycle them by transforming them into items of higher value. I'd actually never heard of that before. So I'm actually really intrigued. So I'll do a little bit more research into that later. But yeah, it looks like they only do stuff that are in certain regions, and
that's
obviously
right.
where we are, you and I, in Townsville, we don't have that option yet, but maybe down the track. I actually had a question. And apparently Karen also said that it's supported by 7-Eleven and Sunshine Plaza, who have installed quite a lot of them. So hopefully they're doing a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully they are.
Else, they're still, if they're doing something with them, they're still diverting them from just going into landfill or, going where they're not supposed to go, i.e. into the ocean and into the environment. I had a couple of questions, and I know Jeff had a couple of questions as well. So I just wanted to ask about what you know about the composting facilities around the place. I know that at the moment in Townsville, we only take recyclables from 1 to 5. So we don't take 6 or 7. And I actually learnt that from you tonight, that number 7 can include anything in it. But it would be good to get some more info from you about the compostable facilities around Townsville, how far off we are from something like that, and if there's other places in Queensland that do, like other councils that do have commercial composting facilities.
Well, in Townsville we don't, and well, I've been given mixed information, so I really can't confirm anything. The council would have to be able to sort of clarify and confirm anything. I've heard that within a couple of years we will have roadside green waste bins, and that they hadn't decided whether this would include food waste. And then within a couple of years there would be a commercial composting facility. That was what I was told at one point, but then later on I was told that no, it's a few years off yet. Now I don't know whether COVID changed plans. Maybe they went to some sort of emergency plan and said let's drop that. It obviously will cost money to set something like that up. However, it will create jobs, and it definitely comes under the Queensland Government's Plastic Pollution Reduction Plan. That's definitely one of the factors to be factored in. So hopefully we'll get an update on that, and I can tell you that as soon as I hear anything definite, I will be sharing and celebrating the progressiveness of Townsville City Council if they do that. Now, around Australia, there are around 150 commercial composting facilities. Some of them are municipal council owned, some of them are private. So there's always that option of a private company coming in to do that. And some of them have a curbside collection facility, or others have garden waste bins or a dedicated organic recycling service that you can subscribe to, and they will come and collect those things. So yeah, I think that there's a graph somewhere online that will tell you where they all are. I guess I've just focused on the fact that they are not in Townsville at this point. But if somebody wants to know, I can look that information up for them and give it to them later.
I think it's one of those things where the more people that ask about it, like you and I were discussing earlier today, and even in your talk, the more people that talk about this stuff and ask about it, the more on the forefront it is.
That's right.
And Ingrid just messaged and said that Chris, her partner, had sent a message through to Phil Thompson about the same thing, about the industrial
That's great.
composting facility.
And I think that's the thing. It'll take people power. Me asking the council for these answers is one thing, but they'll say, oh, you're Plastic Free Townsville and you want that. But if the community wants it, in the same way as this plastic ban came into place because of overwhelming community support, if the community wants it and continues to contact council about it and ask them about it, there'll be a point where, they'll definitely start taking steps and planning it. So I think no matter where you are, if there's something you want, people power really does work. And contacting people, I know sometimes it's a bit of an effort, but it does put things on people's desks, and if they pile up and it's always the same topic, they can't ignore it longer. So get writing and emailing. Have I lost you, Jenny? I can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. I think I might have been the victim of greenwashing the other day. I bought some kitchen wipes, and they did come in plastic packaging, but it said it was, I thought that I was doing the right thing, and it said it was 70% cellulose and 30% cotton. So that to me sounded like it was a fairly green alternative to all the Chuck's wipes that I was using. Do you know anything about that sort of?
I don't know about that product specifically, and it could be completely above board, or it could be a case of greenwashing. It's a bit hard to know. We have cling wrap, for example, is a really good example of that. Talking about, I guess, a similar aisle in the supermarket. We've got a couple of biodegradable cling wraps. Now, just to be aware, biodegradable means absolutely nothing in terms of regulation. So it just means that it breaks down in certain conditions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have any time frame on it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have plastic in it. It just breaks down in environmental conditions. So the word biodegradable is used a lot in greenwashing and really doesn't mean anything. Compostable is another term that it's linked to biodegradable. Compostable is biodegradable. It's just that it can go into a compost. However, in the Plastic Free Places program, we're quite strict on items having a certification, usually to the Australian standard, which is actually the highest standard for compostability. What this does is it means that this product must meet the criteria that it will break down in either a home compost or commercial compost, depending on the certification, under very specific conditions. And the Australian standard includes a worm toxicity test to show that it's not to worms, whereas the European is also very strict but doesn't include that, and the American is probably the least strict and definitely doesn't include that. So we try on our hierarchy of recommendations, we recommend products that are certified to Australian composting standards, and we will say it's home compostable or commercially compostable. We always choose home compostable first, and then we'll go down to the European standards, to the American standard, and then the uncertified compostable if there really isn't anything else available, which there usually is. So cling wrap is a big one where it'll look really, really green, and you'll read all the stuff and go, wow, and the colors are nice. They're green and brown on the packet or white and clean, but you don't really know. And if something says, oh, it's certified home compostable, but there's no certification on it, then again, that could mean anything.
The more you know.
Yeah, and it's sometimes quite disappointing because you really had high hopes for something, and you find out that, I don't know if it's bad. It's probably better than a lot of things, but there's something they're not telling us. And if there's a lack of transparency, you've got to be a little bit sus.
So what I thought we could do just to wrap up is people could either post on the chat board or just unmute themselves and give us their best plastic-free July tips.
That'd be great.
I actually contacted Townsville City Council the other day. I had heard that you could recycle metal bottle caps. and you use a magnet to see if they're aluminium or steel. If they're steel, then they'll connect to your magnet, and you can just put them in a bigger can of the same material. So just like a chickpea or tomato tin can, fill it full of the metal plastic bottle, the metal bottle lids, close it up, and then put it in the recycling bin, and that way the little bottle cap lids won't fall through the machines. But Jeff had a question about the little plastic silicone bits that are sometimes part of the sealing mechanism for the drinks. I forgot to ask about that. We were wondering if you knew anything about if that has to be pulled out, or whether that gets sort of just melted off and they just
it is recommended that you pull it out. Unfortunately, those little seals have to go into landfill at this stage. And it's the same as the metal caps. If you can get the plastic caps of the same type, which you'll just see the number and the recycling symbol, they generally are the same type. It's usually polypropylene. And put them in a bigger container of polypropylene if you find it. Sometimes those big, what do all the workout people use, all their supplements, and those giant tubs. If that turns out to be the same plastic, which I think it is, you can fill one of those up, and then that will be okay in a recycling facility.
Yeah, right.
There are some really good recycling officers at the Townsville City Council, and I imagine you've got sustainability officers in any council in Australia, or most councils in Australia have a sustainability officer and a recycling officer, and it's really worth asking them as well for within your own municipality's facility how they manage to work those things. Some of them just blanket refuse them because of the clog factor, because it really means that the whole thing needs to be switched off. They need to go through all the belts and remove those things that are clogging them up. And that slows down production and capacity. Sometimes the contamination is enough. Usually if there's 20% contamination or higher, the whole thing goes to landfill. Which is why it's so important for people to look at what's going in their recycling bins, which is one of the biggest problems. That's what so unfortunately I think the bottle the bottle linings at this point, they can't be recycled, so they would have to go into landfill.
Yeah, okay, good to know. Some of the other things that I've learned this Plastic Free July, this one was from Jody actually. She suggested or she mentioned that she doesn't use a bin liner anymore, and I tried that. I've been trying.
Oh, I've just lost you. I can't hear what you've just asked.
Jody was just saying that she doesn't use a bin liner anymore, so I've been trialing that for a week or two, and all of the meat scraps go into the freezer, and if it's not something that we can do anything with, all the soft plastics get recycled, all the metal stuff gets recycled, and glass stuff. So I really have just ended up with bits and pieces that don't really need a bin liner for anymore. I also made the switch to metal pegs, and
that's a great idea.
Great.
I'm losing your voice. I don't know if anybody else is, Jenny.
Oh, okay. And was just listing off a couple of tips. But does anyone else want to share theirs? Karen said that she's using a big Milo tin for metal lids to go into before they go into recycling.
That's a great idea.
The main one I'm having trouble with is toothpaste. I'm still a bit unsure about the fluoride side of toothpaste. I feel like it's something that does need to be in my toothpaste, but a lot of the alternatives don't have fluoride, so I'm yet to find something that is environmentally friendly but with the fluoride and whatnot. So if anyone has tips on that, great.
Well, there are tooth tabs now, which are like little solid toothpaste tablets that you pop in your mouth, wet them, and then brush your teeth, and they usually come in a glass jar with a metal lid. So I haven't tried them yet, but I've read on a few minimal waste pages that people love them, and you can choose a fluoride or a non-fluoride option. So that alleviates that issue. And there are tooth powders, but some people don't like the idea of having to dip into a powder repeatedly. So the tabs sort of eliminate that problem. So that's a thing to try. And oral care waste does cause a lot of dramas. And Karen, I've seen your message here about do we advise other types of businesses. It's generally not within our model, but we will accept others and advise within our scope, and then refer on if we can. There's another initiative called EcoBiz in Queensland, which is a very similar model to Plastic Free Places. It's actually run by the Queensland government, and they come around to a business all free of charge. You just register with EcoBiz, and your local coordinator will come over, assess your business on its energy use, water use and waste, and help you find solutions, often finding solutions that reduce your costs. They will also advise you of any grants or subsidies or things that are available to you that you might not know about. So we discovered them, I guess, by chance, and realized that we really were very compatible organizations because they look at a much bigger picture, whereas we're quite specific to the businesses that we support and recommend to. So if you're in Queensland, look into EcoBiz and find your local coordinators, and that's a great program.
Cool. So I think we might wrap it up. Before we finished up, I was just hoping we could take a little screenshot. Maybe everyone could turn their video on just so we can take just one little photo of everyone who came along, if you're comfortable with that. I'm just going to stop your screen sharing, Diana, and put mine on for that very last slide.
Sure.
Hopefully you guys learnt something from tonight. I certainly did. Learnt a couple of things about the waxed and unwaxed stuff, about FSC, about the PLA and how it can't compost. And then also start my video, about number 7s and that anything can be in number 7. So I found that quite interesting. I'm just going to...
I've started baking my own bread, Jenny, so that I don't have to buy plastic bags.
Oh yeah, great. I've been meaning to try that, but I haven't yet.
Our bread maker is put to very good use for that reason.
I'll just come and get your bread. Hey, how about that?
I was going to say, Nathan, have you seen also that there is actually, Baker's Delight makes a bag that you can reuse for bread that I've been using.
Well, we were buying bread from bakeries that would serve it in a paper bag, and then they stopped doing the bread that we liked. So the only stuff I could get was from the supermarket in plastic bags. So the only option was to do it myself.
Yep. 3 Loaves is actually selling cloth bread bags as well. So they're trying to encourage their customers to purchase one of those and just bring that in, and so they can just slide the bread into there as well.
Always alternatives, aren't there?
Yeah.
I bought one of those, and it's pretty sturdy. Like I think it will last forever.
Yeah. I mean, depends on what you're going to do with it, but I can't imagine you'd be too rough to a bread bag.
The only problem is like when you slice the bread, like obviously you can't. Yeah, so that's the like.
Well, they still wear gloves, but I think they don't need to change them for each customer. I haven't seen them change them.
Yeah,
so.
but it's very sturdy. I think it'll last forever. It's very much like a dry bag sort of.
Yeah, it is
like you dive dry bags. Yeah.
All right, I think I've got everyone. So maybe everyone smile while I take a picture. Three, two, 1. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Diana, for giving us a run through about Plastic Free Townsville, Plastic Free July, and the Plastic Free New Movement. I definitely learned something tonight. Hopefully you guys picked up on something. If not, it was just great to see you guys online and have a bit of a chat. And yeah, in the next couple of weeks, we have another Coast to Coral about grey nurse sharks. So if that interests you, make sure you join us and watch the space. We have Nathan and I just caught up this afternoon. So we've got a lot of stuff happening in Townsville region and Great Barrier Reef region in the next couple months. And also in Southeast Queensland, there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be happening. So I suppose for now, we'll see you online and hopefully in person.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, everyone. See you later. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jenny.
guys.
Bye now.